Welcome back, dear student. We are going to start first year English syllabus. First, we will study chapter number 1, Pakistan Zindabad by John Walton. So, let's start first chapter and brief introduction. Walton. Now, see, in first year English prose, this chapter we will read out about this chapter, question answers, explanation of the paragraphs, and we will discuss the word meaning, and from examination point of view we will discuss important aspect of this chapter. Brief summary, question answer, and word meaning, and other related tasks that we have to perform in exam. So let's start with the first chapter, Pakistan Zindabad by John Walton. Now see, first we are going to start from a historical point of view. In subcontinent, Muslims, British and Hindus, they were living in the subcontinent, and Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah was the originator and founder of Pakistan, and Lord Mountbatten, he was the last viceroy of India, and Gandhi, who lead Hindus, and in subcontinent Hindus, Muslims, they were living, and Lord Mountbatten, he was the last viceroy of India. So Hindus, Muslims, and British, they were living in a subcontinent, and now what happened next, and when the chapter start. So we are going to start first. Before starting chapter, just I will tell you, we will read out when Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah reached at Karachi airport before independence, and we will also discuss the importance, the opinions and views of Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah and Gandhi ji, and the task the Lord Mountbatten performed. So we will discuss each and every aspect of this chapter. So let's start. Now see, now we are going to start page number 1, first chapter, Pakistan Zindabad by John Walton. Now the chapter starts when Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, when he reached at Maripur airport on August 7, 1947. Chapter start when the Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah reached at the Maripur airport on August 7, 1947. Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah was the originator and the first Governor General and great leader of the new country, Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Now, Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah was the originator, first Governor General and leader of the new country, and title is Muhammad Ali Jinnah. So, he was the great leader and originator of Pakistan, and excitement and jubilation among people at that times, and cheers and tears of joy, and never ceasing cries, Pakistan Zindabad. Like there was excitement and jubilation among people when Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali reached at Karachi airport. People were very much excited. They wanted to see their great leader, and they wanted to talk, and they wanted to meet with their leader. So at that time there was jubilation among people, and never ceasing cries of Pakistan Zindabad. लोग बड़े पुरजोश थे, पाकिस्तान जिंदाबाद के नारे लगा रहे थे, और जब कायद-ए-आज़म मोहम्मद अली जिन्ना ने वाइट शेरवानी पहनी हुई थी, लोग उससे मिलना चाहते थे, उनके करीब जाना चाहते थे, बिकॉज कायद-ए-आज़म मोहम्मद अली जिन्ना जो है पाकिस्तान के जो है फर्स्ट गवर्नर जनरल, ओरिजिनेटर और फाउंडर थे, और लोग जो थे बड़े पुरजोश थे, एंड feelings of nation and their great leader. नाउ हमने पहले जैसे स्टार्टिंग में हमने नोट किया कि जब कायद-ए-आज़म मोहम्मद अली जिन्ना कराची एयरपोर्ट, मारीपुर एयरपोर्ट पहुंचे, तो वहाँ पे 7 अगस्त 1947 पे लोग बड़े पुरजोश थे, एंड लीडर्स को देख के वो बड़े खुश थे और एंथुसियास्टिक थे, लोगों में बड़ी फीलिंग्स थी. बट कायद-ए-आज़म मोहम्मद अली जिन्ना never showed any kind of pride, and at that time Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah was a little bit worried, and he was thinking about the homeless people, when the partition occurred and people crossed the borders, and they started crossing borders, and they were moving, and there was hustle and bustle, and at that time hue and cry among peoples occurred. And so Qazi Mumtaz was worried about the homeless people and thinking of the future. So as we have discussed, and there's some moments of independence, like we have discussed the Independence Day, the warm-hearted men behind the stern Qaid-e-Azam. Qaid Muhammad Ali Jinnah, from the balcony of the government house, he gave smile to the people, and people were still in the street, and they were cheering, and they were in a joy, and they showed enthusiasm, and they were never ceasing cries. They were never ceasing cries, Pakistan Zindabad, Pakistan Zindabad at that time. So we have discussed about the introduction and the first page of when Qazi Muhammad Ali Jinnah reached at the Karachi airport. At that time, crowds, they welcomed their great leader, because Qazi Muhammad Ali Jinnah was the originator and the founder of their new country, and they welcomed their great leader. And some moment of Independence Day, warm-hearted men behind Eastern Qaidism they have seen, and people were very much excited, and Qazi Muhammad Ali Jinnah was worried and thinking about the homeless people at that time. Now see, religious freedom, as Qazi Muhammad Ali Jinnah said, that you are free to go to your temple, and you are free to go to your mosque. You are free to go to your temple. You are free to go to a mosque or to any other place of worship in this state of Pakistan. Qazi Muhammad Ali Jinnah is talking about the religious freedom of the people. Qazi Muhammad Ali Jinnah said that all people are equal in the eyes of God, and you are free to go to your mosque, you are free to go to your temple, and you are free to go to your church. It means all people are equal in the eyes of God. You have equal freedom and religious right to go to your religious places anywhere in the Pakistan. So Qazi Muhammad Ali Jinnah said that all the people are equal in the eyes of God, and you are free and you have religious freedom, and wherever you are living in Pakistan you have religious freedom, and equal, you all people are equal in the, all men are equal in the eyes of God. And that was Qazi Muhammad Ali Jinnah was talking about the religious freedom. And now Pakistan resolution, where, what and when. Pakistan resolution जो कब जो है पास हुआ, it was at Lahore in 1940. Pakistan resolution was passed on 23rd March 1948 at Lahore, Iqbal Park, Lahore, and Muslim League took the decision now that that split India into two nations. That now 23rd March, on 23rd March 1940, Pakistan resolution was passed, and Muslim League took the decision that India must be split into two nations. Those parts in which Muslims are in majority will be included in Pakistan, and they agreed not to accept any plan for India which failed to give Muslims independent states, those parts in which Muslims are in majority will be included in Pakistan, where there were more Muslims and there were majorities, such as East Bengal and the NWFP and the Northwest Frontier Province. So Indian newspaper called this Pakistan resolution, that whole Pakistan resolution. So as we have discussed, Pakistan resolution was passed on 23rd March 1940 at Lahore, and it was decided that those parts in which Muslims are in majority will be included in Pakistan. Now we are going to discuss the origin of the word Pakistan. जो origin थी, जो शुरुआत थी, like in 1933 name Pakistan. We are going to discuss the word Pakistan, as origin, and the name Pakistan was invented by Chaudhry Rahmat Ali, a Cambridge student, in 1933 coined the name Pakistan. It's very important from examination point of view as well. In 1933, Chaudhry Rahmat Ali coined the name Pakistan. He was a Cambridge student, and he wrote in both Urdu and in Persian words. The origin of the word Pakistan, he wrote both in Urdu and Persian words. It is composed of letter taken from all our homeland, from all our homeland, the words taken both Urdu and Persian word. This is very important from MCQ's point of view as well, like in both written in Urdu and Persian words, and like that is taken from Indian and Asian all our homeland, like that is Punjab, Afghania, and Northwest Frontier province, and Kashmir, Iran, and Sindh, and including Kutch and Kathiawar, that we are going to discuss, and Turkestan and Afghanistan. So, and Balochistan. So that is the the origin of the word Pakistan. In 1933, Chaudhry Rahmat Ali was a Cambridge student. He coined the name Pakistan, and he wrote in both Urdu and Persian word, and it's composed of all that taken from all homelands that we have discussed. And it means, now what is the meaning of the word Pakistan? It means the land of Pak, spiritually pure and clean people. That is the meaning of the word Pakistan, as Chaudhry Rahmat Ali discussed. So that we have discussed the origin of the word Pakistan. And now next, let's see a Jinnah appeal for peace when killing and destruction held away during the first year of the history. Qazi Muhammad Ali Jinnah appealed for the peace because he hated violence, and he always want peace. And Qazi Muhammad Ali Jinnah, when people cross the new border, and then they killed each other, and the people they're crossing the new border at that time, and mostly people, they were killed one another, and there was tussle among the peoples. And at that time, all that scene and violence, Qazi Muhammad Ali Jinnah was worried about these homeless people, and it made sad Qazi Muhammad Ali Jinnah, and shocked. Qazi Muhammad Ali Jinnah was shocked of that violence, and so because he liked, Qazi Muhammad Ali Jinnah wanted peace, and he hated violence among the people. So that's why Qazi Muhammad Ali Jinnah was shocked. And later on, we are going to discuss the difference of approaches between Congress leader and Jinnah. Like there was difference of opinion, there was difference of thought among two great leaders, and during World War II. And World War II started in 1939 and ended in 1945. Like it's general knowledge question. And World War I has started in 1914 and ended in 1919, and World War II started in 1939 and ended in 1945. The Congress leaders spent most of the Second World War in prison on account of their mass civil disobedience plan. Now, Congress leader at that time, they spent most of the Second World War during the duration of the 1939 1945 because of the mass civil disobedience plan. Civil disobedience plan means to disobey law or refuse law that we don't agree. That is called the civil disobedience plan. And the country was on the verge of civil war, and British are no more wanted. And so mostly Congress leader, they spent most of the second most of the Second World War time in prison on account of their mass civil disobedience plan, as we have discussed. So, and Qazi Muhammad Ali Jinnah started a newspaper called Dawn, and Muslim welcomed a paper of their own, because mostly at that time the newspapers belonged to Hindus, or mostly newspaper belonged to Hindu at that time, and Britishers. So Qazi Muhammad Ali Jinnah, when he started the newspaper Dawn, and they gathered all Muslims at one platform. So Muslim welcomed their newspaper, and the civil disobedience, as we have discussed, means to refuse to obey law in order to protest in a peaceful way against the government. And जिसे हम कहते हैं कि कोई जो है people जो है अगर किसी कानून को जो है रिफ्यूज करते हैं जो ओबे करने थे, तो उसको हम जो है civil disobedience कहते हैं. So that we have discussed about that. Qazi Muhammad Ali Jinnah wanted peace, he hated violence, and he was shocked because he seen people when they cross the new borders, and at that time there were tussle among the people, and Qazi Muhammad Ali Jinnah was shocked. And Congress leaders spent most of the Second World War in prison. And later on, Qazi Muhammad Ali Jinnah continued his struggle, and he started a newspaper called Dawn. Discuss both great leader Jinnah and Gandhi, and their difference of opinion, difference of opinion, different of views. Let's discuss the views regarding partition. we are going to discuss. Jinnah and Gandhi differed in their views regarding partition of India, and Jinnah was a usual very severe and firm and faultlessly dressed. He usually wear white sherwani and faultlessly dressed, and Gandhi wore his familiar dress, white dhoti, and usually sat on the floor. And there was different of opinion among the two great leaders. There is nothing in life that join us together, and the ways of living, and the people. Kazim Muhammad Ali Jinnah said that enemy of today is a friend of tomorrow. Gandhi says that India, there will be a ruin for India if it will be split into two parts, and Kazim Muhammad Ali Jinnah said that India must be split into two parts. So there was different of opinion between two great leaders, Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah and Gandhi, as we have discussed about their opinion, both great leaders. Now, next, let's see, both they were different in their opinion. We have discussed briefly about the difference of opinion between the two leaders. Now, next, we are going to discuss another important point. Lord Mountbatten was sent to find a way. Lord Mountbatten was, last viceroy of India, and he was sent to find a way of handing over government to Indians. That is the important point we will discuss. Another important point: after the war came time for the final settlement. Like country was on the verge of civil war, and the time came for the final settlement. And the Lord Mountbatten was sent to India as the last viceroy. An important point, and Britain declared that she was going to give full self-government to the people of India. Like that is also important point that we will discuss, and the leave the country by the June 1948. That is very important. Like they will leave the country on June 1948. That Lord Mountbatten decided, and in March 1947, country was on the verge of civil war, and the government was divided. And powerless. British officers, they were eager to leave their country. And now, see, important point we are going to discuss about this, that Lord Mountbatten was sent to India, the last viceroy, and handing over the government to the Indians, because the country was on the verge of civil war, and the time came for the final settlement. लॉर्ड माउंटबेटन जो थे उन्होंने ये डिक्लेयर किया कि अब जो है they are going to give full self government to the people of Indians. Now they will decide, that Muslim and Hindu will have to decide is what they have to do, and they leave the country by June 1948 because they were no more wanted, and the country was on the verge of civil war. In March 1947, country was on the verge of civil war, government was divided and powerless, and British officers were eager to leave their country. And they have realized now it is the time to decide and take the final decision and the final settlement. So they decided, Lord Mountbatten decided that by June 1948 they will leave, India, and they will, hand it over the government to the Indians, the Muslims and Hindus. So that was the, point that we have discussed. And now, Lord Mountbatten, was to split India into two states. Decision was, and there was a decision, each comprising province which want to join either of them. Now they plan what decided Lord Mountbatten said that they wanted to hand over government to Hindus and Muslims, and the province they wanted to join Pakistan or India. The time came, and now not all of the Muslim majority province could join Pakistan. The Mountbatten, what Mountbatten quickly decided. Mountbatten quickly decided that India must be divided into two states, like as we discussed, and at once. फौरन जैसे जो है इंडिया को जो है अब जो है डिवाइड होना चाहिए टू स्टेट्स में. लॉर्ड माउंटबेटन से दैट and he announced, the Lord Mountbatten announced that British would leave on August 15, 1947. That is very important. That is the last final decision, and Congress and the Muslims agreed. That was the great achievement. Both agreed to plan, and for Jinnah it was great victory, because Kazim Muhammad Ali Jinnah, for the Kazim Muhammad Ali Jinnah it was a great victory. So now the provinces that we are going to discuss, which provinces voted to join Pakistan. Sindh, NWFP, Balochistan, West Punjab, Salad, and East Bengal were included in Pakistan. This made smaller state that league at us for some 40 million Muslims were left in India, but now at last could be said that most of the Indian Muslims had a homeland of their own. Now the East Bengal and Sylhet, Bangladesh separated from Pakistan 1971. Sylhet and East Bengal were separated, and though it was at the time of the independence, Pakistan was the fifth largest nation and population of approximately 70 million or 7 crore, and the fifth largest nation. So that, and the provinces that voted to join Pakistan, after the final settlement and decision made by the Lord Mountbatten, and both Congress leader and Kazim Mohammad Ali Jinnah, Muslim League and Congress leader, agreed to this plan, and for Jinnah it was great victory. So after that, now Qaidism led its people to the terrible first year of their history. Important point, and the country was divided. Millions of people crossed the new border, and 6.5 million Muslims leaving India, and 5.5 million Hindus leaving Pakistan, and 6.5 million Muslims leaving India. So that was the scene at that time, and the country was divided. Millions of people crossed the new border. Qazi Muhammad Ali Jinnah was shocked, and sight of these homeless people moved Jinnah to tears, because Qazi Muhammad Ali Jinnah hated violence, he loved peace, and seen that the people they crossed the new border, and mostly homeless people, and there were tussle among the peoples, and Qazi led his people to the first terrible year of their history, because at that time when Qazi Muhammad Ali Jinnah said that Pakistan was coming to being on 14th August 1947, there were no teachers and traders, and Pakistan was industrially and financially weak, and so at that time Pakistan was facing very difficult time. That's why writer used the word terrible for the first year of Pakistan history as an independent state. And Jinnah said that an enemy of today is a friend of tomorrow. That is the famous line of Qazi Muhammad Ali Jinnah. So as Jinnah appealed, for peace, like he wanted peace, and when killing and destruction, like held away, and during the first year of Pakistan history, like in during the duration of the Second World War, when it came to an end. Going to discuss the last year of Qaid life made sad by the fate of the Kashmir. Again, I discussed last year of Qaid life was made sad by the fate of the Kashmir, because Kashmir did not join Pakistan, and Qaid Muhammad Ali Jinnah left people with a heavy hurt because of the fate of the Kashmir, and the news that Hindu Maharaja was taking his Muslim subject away from the Pakistan, and Kashmir did not join Pakistan, the nation they which certainly wanted to belong. So Qazi Muhammad Ali Jinnah left his people on 11 September 1948, and that last year of the Qaid life was made sad, like 1948. So because Kashmir did not join Pakistan on 11 September 1948, he left his people, and buried in the city Karachi, where he was born, in the heart of the city. So Qazi Muhammad Ali Jinnah was born on 25th December 1876 and died on 11 September 1948. And as we have discussed, last year of his life was made sad by the fate of the Kashmir, because Kashmir did not join Pakistan. The news that Hindu Maharaja was taking Muslim subject away from the Pakistan, they was the nation they would certainly wanted to belong, and a fearful blow to him. So 11 September, Qazi left his people, and like Qazi Muhammad Ali Jinnah left his people with a heavy heart. So that important point we have discussed, and now we are going to discuss the short question answer session. Briefly, we will discuss that how we will answer, and further who was the first Governor General. As we have discussed, Qazi Muhammad Ali Jinnah was the first Governor General, originator, and the founder of Pakistan. And who was the last Viceroy of India? Lord Mountbatten was the last Viceroy of India. And where was Pakistan resolution passed, state briefly what it decided. Pakistan resolution was passed on 23rd March 1940 and decided that those parts in which Muslims are in majority will be included in Pakistan. And what were the provinces that we have discussed at that time? We have discussed this in detail, provinces, and so these are the important question answer that we have discussed in all this chapter, like why did Kashmir not join Pakistan because of the Hindu Maharaja Hari Singh conspiracy. He took the Muslim subject away from the Pakistan, and how large was the Pakistan population, as we have discussed that the 7 crore at that time population of the Pakistan when it came into being, and the fifth largest Muslim nation in the world. And how does Pakistan compare in size and population? It's another question related, and that important questions. That one is why does writer apply the word terrible? That we are going to discuss it briefly, and we will further read out in details on how to write it answer correctly. That's the point that we are going to discuss, that we have covered in the lecture. Very important brief point that we have discussed, that the writer used the terrible word for the first year of Pakistan history as an independent state, because when Pakistan came into being on 14th August 1947, at that time there were no traders and teachers, and Pakistan was financially and industrially weak, and no infrastructure, no arm. At that time there were no infrastructures, and totally our financially state and industrial state, that was not good at that time. So Pakistan was facing terrible time during the first year of Pakistan independence, and we have to build up all these machinery from the scratch, as we can say that. So that was the time Pakistan was facing. It was terrible time. Later on, what was the difference between Quaidism and Gandhi, as we have discussed in detail, and what does Quaidism, Muhammad Ali Jinnah tells people when land in Karachi about the religious freedom, as we have discussed that all people are equal in the eyes of God, and you are free to go to your mosque, you are free to go to your temple, and you are free to go to your church, as Qasim Muhammad Ali Jinnah discussed religious freedoms. And Congress leader, another important point, we will also write it down. And Qasim Muhammad Ali Jinnah said that you have religious freedom. And why did Congress leaders spend most of the Second World War in prison? Because of their mass civil disobedience plan. Mass civil disobedience, as we discussed, that mass civil disobedience means to disobey, refuse to obey law. Why was Mr. Jinnah shocked? Because of the homeless people, and the Muslims and Hindus, they were crossing the new borders at that time, and Kazim Muhammad Jinnah was shocked. Now let's discuss the word meaning, important word meaning of the chapter. Dignified, worthy, respect, respected, we can say that, and originator, creator, founder. Like Kazim Muhammad Jinnah was the originator, excited, very enthusiastic and eager, and roar means under loud, deep, prolonged sound, typical from anger, pain, or excitement. As in excitement, people cried. People said that like I'm going to discuss from the chapter that people are very much excited, and never ceasing cries the Pakistan Zindabad, Pakistan Zindabad. That like utter a loud voice, and Pakistan Zindabad. And rarely means not often seldom. Stretch means extended or spread over an area of the period of time. Stern means serious. Violence, brutality. Cruel behavior of the attitude. Cruel behavior or attitude, like rude behavior, cruel, determination, willpower, and civil disobedience, refusal to comply with certain law, as we have discussed. Other important point, word meanings, verge, age or border, civil war, war between citizens of the same country, like that is civil war. And never ceasing means never ending. Violence, murderousness, खून खराबा जिसे कहते हैं, cheer, shout of joy, खुशी, far from ill कहते हैं बीमार होना, and fingertips, belief को कहते हैं, eager, desirous. हमने इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट डिस्कस कर लिए हैं चैप्टर के, जो फर्स्ट चैप्टर के इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट्स वी हैव डिस्कस्ड. होपफुली आपको समझ में आ गया। ब्रीफली मैं सेम पॉइंट रिपीट कर दूं। कायद अज़म मोहम्मद अली जिन्ना 7 अगस्त 1947 जब मारीपुर एयरपोर्ट कराची पहुंचे तो बहुत सारे लोगों का हजूम था और कायद अज़म मोहम्मद अली जिन्ना के वेलकम के लिए वो वहाँ थे। और कायद अज़म मोहम्मद अली जिन्ना ने जो है उन्हें वाइट शेरवानी पहनी हुई थी और पीपल वर एंथुसियास्टिक एंड दे वर वेरी मच एक्साइटेड, दे वांटेड टू मीट एंड वांट टू सी द ग्रेट लीडर, और नारे लगा रहे थे पाकिस्तान जिंदाबाद के, लोग बड़े खुश थे। But Kazim Muhammad Ali Jinnah was, a little bit worried, and he was thinking about the homeless people at that time when people crossed the new borders, and he wanted peace and he hated violence. कादिज़ मोहम्मद अली जिन्ना ने रिलीजियस फ्रीडम के बारे में जो बताया वो हमने डिस्कस किया। कादिज़ मोहम्मद अली जिन्ना ने कहा कि ऑल द पीपल आर इक्वल इन द आइज ऑफ गॉड, like Muslims are free to go to their mosque and Hindus are free to go to your temple and Christians are free to go to your church. और हमने ये इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट रीड आउट किया कि पाकिस्तान रेजोल्यूशन जो है 23 मार्च 1940 को जो है वो पास हुआ, डिसाइडेड दैट दोज प्रोविंस इन व्हिच मुस्लिम्स आर इन मेजॉरिटी विल बी इंक्लूडेड इन पाकिस्तान। एंड चौधरी रहमत अली ने 1933 में पाकिस्तान का नाम दिया, एंड उर्दू एंड पर्शियन वर्ड्स एंड टेकन ऑल वर्ड्स फ्रॉम होमलैंड, लाइक जिसमें हमने डिस्कस किया। एंड उन्होंने ये बताया कि द वर्ड पाकिस्तान मीन लैंड ऑफ पाक एंड प्योर पीपल। और उसके बाद हमने ये पढ़ा कि कंट्री वाज ऑन द वर्ज ऑफ सिविल वॉर एंड कायद मोहम्मद अली जिन्ना से दैट नो पावर ऑन अर्थ कैन प्रिवेंट पाकिस्तान, पाकिस्तान को आज़ाद होने से कोई नहीं रोक सकता, कोई ताकत नहीं रोक सकती। कायद मोहम्मद अली जिन्ना ने कहा कि एनिमी ऑफ टुडे इज अ फ्रेंड ऑफ टुमारो। एंड उसके बाद हमने पढ़ा कि मोस्ट ऑफ द कांग्रेस लीडर दे स्पेंट सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर इन प्रिजन ऑन अकाउंट ऑफ देयर मास सिविल डिसोबीडियंस प्लान। द कंट्री वाज ऑन द वर्ज ऑफ सिविल वॉर एंड जैसे मास सिविल डिसोबीडियंस कहते हैं कि जैसे जो है डिसोबे लॉ एंड रिफ्यूज टू ओबे लॉ। तो ये हमने जैसे जो है सिंपल मीनिंग है वन हु रिफ्यूज टू ओबे लॉ, दैट इज करेक्ट वन। एंड हमने डिफरेंस ऑफ ओपिनियन रीड आउट की कायद मोहम्मद अली जिन्ना और गांधी जी की। गांधी चाहते थे कि जो है इंडिया जो है दो हिस्सों में तकसीम ना हो, और कायद चाहते थे कि इंडिया जो है वो दो हिस्सों में तकसीम हो। उसके बाद हमने पढ़ा कि लॉर्ड माउंटबैटन जो थे उन्होंने फाइनली डिसाइड किया कि अब जो है हम ये पावर जो है हिंदू और मुस्लिम को दे देंगे और वही डिसाइड करेंगे और कौन कौन से प्रोविंसेस पाकिस्तान के साथ जाना चाहते हैं और कौन कौन से जो है इंडिया के साथ। तो फाइनली ये सूबे फिर बन गए। और उसके बाद हमने पढ़ा कि 7 करोड़ पाकिस्तान की पॉपुलेशन थी जब पाकिस्तान आज़ाद हुआ, और लास्ट में फिर 11 सितंबर 1948 को कायद मोहम्मद अली जिन्ना की जो डेथ होती है उनको कराची में जो है दफनाया जाता है। तो ही वाज बरीड इन कराची इन द हार्ट ऑफ पाकिस्तान। तो कायद मोहम्मद अली जिन्ना वाज अपसेट लास्ट ईयर जो उनकी जो डेथ हुई जो 1948, तो कश्मीर जो पाकिस्तान में शामिल ना हो सका एंड ही वाज बरीड एंड लेफ्ट द हैवी हार्ट। तो ये जो है हमने जो इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट्स जो डिस्कस की, लाइक द ब्रीफ फाइंड एंड paragraph explanation, question answer and word meaning explanation. Hope all these points are clear. आपको जो है सही से जो है समझ में आ गए होंगे। थैंक यू।